Sure.
Okay, it's showing us live. Anyone hear me?
Check. Yeah, you're being heard.
Okay. Welcome back to the SPACEDOCK workshop. Episode 2. Re-engineering. So, firstly, quick overview. What is re-engineering? Well, very simply, re-engineering is taking the modifiers from your weapons and changing them. So, I've just opened up the re-engineering menu. You do that, right click on an item, click on re-engineer. There you go. It's also next to the upgrade tab as well. So, re-engineer, pick your weapon, spin to win, and see what it is after you're done. So, the two main resources you're going to need, as you can see here, dilithium and salvage. Dilithium, fairly easy to get, just play the game, do the missions, you get rewarded with dilithium. The other resource, salvage, that's a tricky one. Firstly, what you can salvage, it will say in the tooltip right beneath where it says account bind on equip or bound to account, bound to character, etc, etc. Salvageable. If it says that, you can right click on it, click salvage, it'll ask you, are you sure? Yes. And there we go. From that Mark 8, very rare, I got 222 salvage and some crafting goodies. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, but as you get higher rarity items that you salvage, you will get more salvage or slightly less salvage and more crafting components. Now these beams I crafted earlier just for demonstration and to show that you get a fairly random amount of salvage and a fairly random amount of crafting components. If you get, obviously, as you can see from the examples I've done, the more salvage, the more crafting components I've got, the less salvage itself I've got. But it's fairly easy to get salvageable items now. Just run any of the patrol missions or the queues or any mission that you normally would have, and those items that you normally would have just thrown away, you can keep them. So all those Mark 12 green rarity turrets that you pick up, for example, collect them, salvage them, boom, you're ready to go. So once you've found your item you want to re-engineer, so my example, I'm going to use this omnidirectional plasma beam array. It's got 4 modifiers, 1 per level of rarity. As you can see here, this modifier arc is one of the modifiers that you cannot roll. As it's an omnidirectional, arc is the one locked. In some other weapons, so when you craft them, they will have various other modifiers such as spread or pen, over, aka the modifiers you can only get from crafting. You cannot roll into them, but you can also not roll out of them. So, just to give an example of what the re-rolling itself looks like, I've got 13,000 dilithium and 2,600 salvage. I'm going to re-roll these 2 mods. As you can see here, when I click on one, it gives you a cost for each of them, and that cost exponentially decreases the more you roll. So, one change they've already made to this system since its introduction with Season 14.5, you cannot roll into the same mod you roll out of. So this one here, it will not be accuracy the next time I roll it, and this one here will not be crit H. Citation needed, they may have changed it again, but that was one thing they said on the notes. So there we go. I spent 1400 dilithium, 800 salvage. It went from arc, accuracy, damage, crit H, to now arc, crit D, damage times 2. And so, for example, I like the damage on this one. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to re-roll crit D. Boom. There we go. accuracy, damage times 3. So, as you can see here, I've spent about 2,000 dilithium and about 1,200 salvage, and the damage potential of this Omni Beam Array has significantly improved. Now, that example I used is not necessarily the best one, so for example here is a beam array. Let's say I want damage 3. Now, if I had a beam array that was, say, accuracy, crit D, crit H, it wouldn't be very economical for me to roll all 3 mods. As you can see here, 2,000 dilithium, nearly 1,200 salvage to roll all 3. So, with only one modifier that I have to re-roll, it's a lot cheaper. Provided, of course, you only get it on the first go. So, whilst you can re-roll, say for example, this shield array, as you can see here, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 potential powers that you can get from it. So you could potentially be rolling this hundreds of times to get the modifier you want. So it's a lot more economical on things like beam arrays to click 1. As you can see, there's only 4 potentials it can be. Randomize, and there we go. Quite fortunately, on the first time I got the one that I wanted. So there we go, that's now locked. If I sell that on the market, that's probably going to be a lot more valuable than before. In fact, it definitely will be a lot more valuable than before. Some limitations on the re-engineering system. So for example, as you can see here, some of the Discovery lockbox weapons that I've opened, as you can see, none of them are salvageable. They can be re-engineered, but you can't turn them into salvage. Another thing you can't do is this item I've got here, the Starfleet Experimental Environmental Suit. This cannot be salvaged, it cannot be re-rolled. Any Lobby store item at the time of recording cannot be re-rolled. Same with kit module. Same with kits. And, well, modules, they don't have modifiers, so the kits, they cannot be re-rolled. And also, this counter command shield is from the reputation. Now, the reputation items cannot currently be re-rolled. Okay, but that's only for now. This may change in the next patch or some way down the line. That's just whatever Perfect World Cryptic decide is what they want to do with it. Another thing, you can see on here, I don't have an epic weapon in my inventory at the moment, so I'm just using this for some show and tell. It has an epic modifier of accuracy damage. Accuracy damage is no longer the only epic modifier you can get on weapons, and of course on various other weapons and re-engineering applicable items. They've added in a lot more types of epic modifier. So just to name a couple of examples, crit D2, crit H, crit D, and also the one that they haven't added, which is a bit of a shame, but I can see why they didn't do it, damage. Now obviously there's going to be some better and some not as good epic modifiers, so each epic modifier now has a hidden damage modifier. So for example, this quantum phase torpedo, it says accuracy damage. That's the game, when it's calculating my damage, will read that as accuracy damage. Also, it's got proc there, so that might be a locked. That probably, well, certainly will be a locked modifier if the quantum phase set is added into re-engineerable items. Okay, also, one thing I found, the emission tracking torpedoes, the rare torpedoes that you can, the particle emission plasma torpedo launcher that you can craft from here, they have an additional hidden modifier of crit H. So that's 2 hidden modifiers when this gets to epic. Very nice. So, just gonna collect these slivers while I'm here. Okay, So re-engineering sounds well and good, but it can be quite a drain on resources. So what weapons will you want to modify? I hinted at it earlier. So just looking at these examples here, if I wanted damage times 3, that's 2 modifiers I'll have to re-roll on there. If I wanted accuracy times 3, for example, on this beam here that I'm now hovering over, there's only 1 modifier I'd have to re-roll. So obviously it's going to be more economical the less modifiers you have to re-roll. So if you are shopping around for beams, or torpedoes, or turrets, etc, 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 try and find or craft something that is close to what you want, and it's going to be just a lot easier. You can still do it on the ones that give all sorts of random modifiers, or even, let's say, this accuracy crit D times 2, I could try and re-roll all of those to be damage. You know, it's up to you, but obviously you use your resources wisely. So one thing I'm looking forward to with this system, as you can see here, this Bajoran set is re-engineerable. It's not salvageable. You know, that's quite thankful, because it's, you know, you have to go through an entire mission to get it. It's a great mission, don't get me wrong. Just takes a lot longer to get than just your regular beam arrays and shields and whatnot. These are all currently re-engineerable. Initially that wasn't the case, but this is one of the things they've added in. And I do hope that they add in the reputation gear. So, for example, you've got your Omega set, your new Kara set, your new Romulus set. Older sets that aren't necessarily with the meta, or they've been outpowered certainly by things such as the Iconian set, the Temporal set, and again, obviously this depends on what build you're going for, so the Lucari set with its extra healing properties might be the best one for you. So other than just providing visuals, if the re-engineering system is extended to this, you could see some of these older sets become a lot more competitive. So, re-engineering. A great little addition to the game. It's made it so it should be a lot more accessible for players to take the weapons they like, or open a, let's say you open a lockbox, you know, maybe I really like pulse phasers, you know, I can make these mod-wise just as competitive, if not more, than something random I've picked up or that I've had to craft elsewhere. Okay, and this was a very short session, but it's a small system, had a big impact and will continue to have a very big impact on the game. This basically concludes this workshop. Thank you all for turning up, or if you're watching the recording later, thank you for watching. Please give the Team Trekyards STO Twitch page a follow, so you can be notified when the next workshops go live, and you can join in the conversation in the chat. You can join us on the TeamSpeak if you're a member of the fleet. And from me, thank you very much. I'm going to head over to a Q&A session. If you're with me now, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to join us all here, looking quite nice and spiffy in our various uniforms. And as always, thanks for watching. Happy trekking. See you next time in a couple of weeks. The topic of that workshop will be on damage, dealing damage, and just going crazy with overkill. And goodbye.